When we took over at Selhurst Park in Season 1, we had dreams of taking Crystal Palace into Europe. Mission accomplished. In our first season at Selhurst Park, we went to the FA Cup final, but unlike in 2016, we went all the way to win it. A first major honour in Crystal Palace's history put us into the Europa League for the following season, where after famous wins against Ajax and Inter Milan, European giants in the knockout stages, we went all the way to the semi-final, only to come up short to Atalanta. A solid finish in the Premier League saw us cement a 5th place finish too. That meant once again Crystal Palace will be back in the Europa League for a second straight season. So after delivering 2 years of Europa League football and a major honour as well, it's safe to say my tenure at Selhurst Park was a successful one, but it was time for a change. For the past 2 seasons, Manchester City had performed way below expectations. A 7th place finish last season and an FA Cup final defeat to Crystal Palace saw them end up trophyless, and this year without European football. And they didn't bounce back either. A mid-table finish in the Premier League, knocked out of the FA Cup quarter-final and the 3rd round of the EFL Cup, saw them once again finish trophyless for a 2nd straight season, and without European football for the following one at the Etihad Stadium. Pep Guardiola's long reign had come to an end. The fans had grown restless. The board decided to pull the trigger and replace the legendary Spaniard manager and look for a new man. With Manchester City looking for fresh blood in charge and a young manager to start a new era, they decided to look at Bayern Munich's ambition of hiring young coach Julian Nagelsmann and concluded this was the way forward. Youth over experience is the preferred way in modern football. The underperforming Guardiola out, the exciting young coach Doc's in, the pressure is on, and the rebuild at the Etihad Stadium starts now. What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Summer Career Mode. This is episode number 37, and yes, we are back. I left you guys on a cliffhanger at the end of Season 2 of Crystal Palace, where we reached the semi-finals of the Europa League, only coming up short to Atalanta, finished 5th place in the Premier League to give Crystal Palace 2 straight seasons of Europa League football, their first major honour back in Season 1 with the FA Cup as well. But I decided it was time for a change. Realistically, I felt we'd take Crystal Palace as far as they should go. This series is all about realism, of course, and I didn't want it to get too far-fetched and too unrealistic with Crystal Palace in the Champions League, battling with the big boys for Europe's grand prize. So because of that, I decided it was time to leave and go to a club that would be looking for a new manager. Let's be honest here, Manchester City are a club, one of the European powerhouses, one of the best teams in England. They are one of the sides who, quite frankly, would not accept back-to-back seasons with no European football whatsoever. There was no European football last season in Season 2, and there'd be none in Season 3 after finishing in 11th place from 7th to 11th. No major honours won by Guardiola. That the guy's a legend, everyone knows that, but those 2 seasons right there, with the money they would have spent and the expectations Man City have, come on now, there's no doubt about it. He'd be out the door, no doubt about that whatsoever. So they decided to look at what Bayern Munich have done. They hired Julian Nagelsmann after his years at Hoffenheim, gave him the opportunity, the youngest and most exciting manager in German football, and said, yeah, let's do that ourselves. Bayern got a strong hold on German football. We want a strong hold on English football. Let's take a leaf out of Bayern Munich's book and give Doxy Boy the manager's job. Try and take them back to where they were. So, yeah, taking over Man City. As you can see, most of the side has remained around the same as it is when they started the save. Though, of course, there have been a couple of changes, a few big departures. I'll more on that in just a moment's time. But what I do want to say is this. This still is all about realism. This save is still about realism. So, don't expect me to go out this season and sign Kylian Mbappe and Frankie de Jong and Matthias de Ligt. Now, we still want to make make sure that our team is around the same as the team as Man City have in real life. Now, they've undergone a major change in the past 7-8 years. I think I read a statistic not long ago that back in 2016, the only player surviving from that 2016 season is Kevin De Bruyne. I think I'm right in saying that. So we won't bring all of the old stars back. There will be a couple that will still be outside the club, but there is still a core of players that have been here for quite a few years now. You know, obviously your KDB, you know, your Kyle Walker, your John Stones, etc, etc, etc. So we want to make sure that we've got a few of those players that are still here. Those players just mentioned there, they've moved on. Only KDB is here. I want to make sure the team you see in the game in this save is basically the same, with one or two changes to real life as well. Now, there are several players to do that's coming to the end of the year. The only players I decide to extend are players that are either here right now and also the Ketelaere, the Belgian as well. Because it's good to see him working under Guardiola, to be fair. So yeah, for the most part, again, don't think we're just going to totally sign a completely new crop of players, completely new crop of stars. We do want to make sure the team you'll see here in this save is very similar to the one you see in real life. So as the season ended in a catastrophic year for Manchester City, FA Cup quarter-final knockout to West Ham at the Etihad, third round defeat to Leicester in the EFL Cup, and an 11th place finish in the Premier League. Well, let's just say this. The board said to me, quite frankly, what do you need? We'll give it to you. Just make sure we get trophies back in the cabinet. Back-to-back years without a major honour is not something you associate with Manchester City these days. So, of course, because of that being the case, they gave me over £300 million to work with to get the band back together, to get a realistic Man City squad close to the one you see in real life, but also said this: yeah, we'll give you the money, you got a star team, you got to win. Back-to-back years with no major honours with Guardiola is the reason we pulled the trigger. You got to win both, mate. You got to win both the FA Cup and the Premier League in your first season, because you've got one of the best teams in the league. There's no doubt about it. Every year, Man City should be fighting for the Premier League title and the domestic cups as well. Obviously, there's no European football after finishing in 11th place last season, but yeah, no doubt about it. Get to work, mate. You ain't going to get a grace period. You're coming in here to Manchester City, a team that are all about winning these days. You've got to make sure you put trophies back in the cabinet as well. So, as I show you the squad, again, there are a couple of new players that have come in, such as Gerard Moreno, the Ketelaere. You got Ginter as well. So, you know, a few new players that Man City don't have in real life, of course. But I will be looking to shift these guys on. You know, I'm okay keeping the Ketelaere, so I do see him possibly being in the Premier League in a couple of years' time. And Man City, to me, would make sense, to be fair. But even so, I'm going to keep him here, but I'm probably going to let the rest of them go. I think Ginter, I'm definitely going to sell him. Sergio Busquets is here. I don't think that's too unrealistic working under Guardiola. But listen, Sergio, Pep's gone now. It's time for you to move on. I'll look to sell him as well. And you would have seen last summer, I was happy releasing Pedro Porro as well. Porro's a great right-back in the game, up to 85 overall now. But he's, of course, moved on in real life, permanently to Sporting Lisbon. So I was fine letting him go as well. I did decide to extend the contracts, though, of Laporte and Nathan Ake as well, the two defenders that are, of course, still with Manchester City after quite a few years now. Well, Nathan Ake, of course, was signed sooner. And also Bernardo Silva as well, now 28 years old, 88 rated, of course, still a staple of Manchester City squad. He'll be staying here as well. And the final contract I gave was, of course, to Kevin De Bruyne. He's 32 years old now, but he's still an absolutely unbelievable player. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne is one of those players, and I said before, I've mentioned it before with KDB, he's one of those players where it's crazy to say this, but as well classed as he is, I think sometimes he's a little bit underrated. I really do. But the players I'm going to let go: Jan Couto, I know he's still a Man City player, but out on loan. I'm going to let him go, though. Busquets, Moreno, and Ginter, though, all three of those had deals come to the end of the year. I'm going to let those go as well. They're not Man City players in real life. I'm not saying that none of them could be there in years to come, but to me, I want this team to be very similar, very, very similar, with one or two changes here or there to the Man City team we're seeing in real life this year. They, of course, got a fantastic start last year at West Ham with that 2-0 victory. And speaking of KDB, what a ball for Haaland's second goal, man. Like I said, the guy just does that with his eyes closed. Unbelievable. But even so, these are the players on the transfer list. Sterling will be going as well. Sterling will be going, and I'm going to try and give him to Chelsea. The two players that I'll definitely sell to their current clubs right now are Sterling and Jesus. Zinchenko's not here, but I'm definitely going to make sure Jesus ends up at Arsenal and Sterling ends up at Chelsea. Hopefully I can get bids from both of those clubs. If I can't do so, I'll just swap them to the club and let them have them. Fingers crossed I'll be able to do that If not, then I'll probably just release them. You know, I guess we'll do it that way. But even so, for new signings of Man City, like I said, the team needs to mirror what we see in real life. This is a realistic career mode. I want this team to be very similar to the team that you're watching right now in real life, which means we need to bring back the players that have left, such as Ilkay Gundogan, John Stones, for example, but also bring in the new signings they've made for real life. Ortega, Calvin Phillips, and who's their new number 9? Oh yeah, he only scored 2 goals on the weekend, last weekend at West Ham. Erling Haaland. Dad played for the club, now he's already up and running in the Premier League as well. The Norwegian striker, who I've previously said could become one of the greatest strikers, if not the greatest of our generation, was always going to be my first man in. Yep, like I said a moment ago there, I'm going to make sure this team is as realistic and as very similar to the team we are seeing in real life. That means my man up top is going to be Erling Haaland, of course. The number 9, who is basically a cheat code in real life. As strong as it gets. 6'4". The build this guy's got, combined with his rapid pace, mainly his acceleration, I think that really gets me. How quick he is out of the blocks, but also his fantastic work ethic, hustle, and finishing touch as well. He really is a complete forward. He'll lead our line in the 4-3-3, just like he does in real life as well. So with Manchester City, the players we will be signing are the players they've got in real life as well. I'm going to bring the band back together as well. And in the very next episode, after spending most of our money on Erling Haaland, hopefully we'll sell those players on the transfer list, get a bit more cash in, bring in Phillips, bring in Ortega, and also maybe wait 1 or 2 more new signings as well for the club to make sure we have got the side you would see in real life too. Keeping it realistic despite the fact we've got all that money to work with. Can't wait, man. Cannot wait. Bring on the rebuild. It begins in the next episode. But that will end today's episode of the Realistic Summer Career Mode, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. If you had, please drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day. First time managing Man City, man. I can't wait. Have a great day. And I'll see you in the next episode where the rebuild continues very soon.